Hi, everybody. I'm Pierre Bouvard, Chief Insights Officer here at the Audio Active Group at Cumulus Media in Westwood One. And today, I'm very excited to share one of the best local advertising case studies I've ever encountered about AM/FM radio. This case study can teach Madison Avenue a lot about what it's forgotten in most recent years. Madison Avenue currently is maniacally obsessed with measuring short term sales effect. So, Steve and his wife Anita, out of Columbia, Missouri, with one van 30 years ago, started a pest control business. And they bought advertising time on one small radio station. And over the years, they devoted 8.5% of their annual revenue to buying ads on local radio stations. And as the business grew, they bought more stations and more ads. They used humor and entertaining copy to promote their brand. Well, flash forward to today. After 30 years, Steve has built the number one pest control business in Columbia, Missouri, and has upwards of 90 vans. So it is a tremendous success story. After I heard about Steve's Pest Control, the Audio Active Group fielded a brand study in Columbia to really measure the magnitude of the brand that Steve has built. So Maru Matchbox, a well-known market research company, conducted a brand study in Columbia, Missouri among 100 consumers, and they had two objectives. One, to understand how well known Steve's Pest Control is in the market, and number two, to understand the magnitude of their brand equity. Brand equity are things like awareness, brand favorability, purchase intent. And they wanted to compare that against the competitors and the national brands. Secondly, a global creative effectiveness measurement company by the name of System one of the leaders in testing advertising creative, also conducted a study in Columbia, Missouri of 150 consumers to measure Steve's Pest Control radio ads against the three key measurements that System 1 quantifies, things like the star rating, the spike rating, and the brand recognition scores. Now, we'll take you through those findings and what those score means in just a moment. But on the brand study, Maru Matchbox measures something called unaided awareness. And for any advertiser, unaided awareness is one of the most crucial measures of your brand. Very simply, unaided awareness captures the proportion of people that are able to name your brand when asked about the category. So for example, I want you to think of the furniture category. Name all the furniture brands you can think of. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to give you a list. You have to do it from your memory. So when Maru asked consumers in Columbia to think of the pest and insect control brands that they can think of, which ones came to mind? Well, look at that. Radio has built quite a brand for Steve's Pest Control. 34% of consumers named Steve as the first brand they could think of, towering over the number two brand, which is a national brand, Orkin. Number three are the 16% of consumers in the market who could not remember any brand whatsoever. And then you can see two other national brands had very low unaided awareness, Terminix and Atkins. So Steve dominates the association for its category. Now, Maru also wanted to understand how Steve did in his category versus other categories in the market. So Maru asked people to name brands that they could think of in categories like roofing, home improvement, window replacement, vision, dental care, a whole bunch of categories. And what was interesting is that for most of these categories, the number one response was don't know. Literally, people unable to name any brand when asked about a category. Only a handful of categories had a brand that actually was not don't know. And obviously, Steve really stands out as really owning its category in the marketplace. Now, one of the interesting findings that Maru uncovered was hard evidence for why you need to continually advertise your local brand. The reason is that people are constantly moving into your market who have no awareness that you exist, no awareness of your store or your brand. So in Colombia, about a third of folks in the marketplace have arrived within the last 10 years. About two-thirds have been in the market 10 years or more. And when you break out Steve's Pest Control, aided awareness, unaided awareness, you can see they do well. They do amazingly among folks that have been in the market for 10 or more years. They do pretty well among folks that have been there 10 years or less. But if somebody's been there 10 years or less and you've been advertising aggressively for 30 years, two-thirds of your advertising history has no impact on them. So strong evidence for why you need to continually educate folks about your existence, what category you're in, because simply put, there's a lot of people coming and going in any local marketplace. Now, one of the key rules in business success, and especially advertising strategy, is the 95-5 rule. The 95-5 rule comes to us courtesy of the Aaron Berg Bass Institute of Marketing Science. And what they have uncovered is that at any point in time, only 5% of people are in market for a product or service, and the other 95% are not in market. And so this dynamic of a small number of people in market and a whole bunch of people not in market means that you have to have two very different marketing objectives. What are these two marketing objectives? Well, the first one to the left is what you do to go after that small 5%. That's called converting existing demand. There are people that are in market. Generally, the strategy here is a sales event. So your goal is to advertise to that small group of people who are ready to buy and capture as much of them as you can. But your second most important job as an advertiser is to create future demand. And that's going after the 95% who are not in market. And you do that with something called brand building. And that is advertising to a much larger group of consumers. They're not ready to buy. They're not thinking of your category. They're not paying attention to the sales event ad. And our goal is to create positive memories so that when they have a need, when they come into the category, when they come in market, they might gravitate to us. Now, the strategies for converting existing demand with sales events going after the 5%, and the strategies for going after the 95% with creating future demand are pretty different. So going after that 5% with sales events, you got to be targeted. You're probably going to use some form of digital. Your copy is going to be very rational. Product and price information, because after all, these folks are in market, so give them the details to persuade them. Now, on the other side of the coin, the 95% part of the coin, brand building is about reaching large groups of people. You got to go after anyone that might come into the category with emotional messaging designed to create positive memories. That's the goal here. You're not trying to make a sale. You're just trying to be known before you're needed so you can influence future purchase decisions. So when you line up these two strategies, you can see how different they really are. The 5%, the converting existing demand, the sales events, that's about leads. It's about tight targeting. It's about short-term time horizon and very persuasive rational copy. The creating future demand, the going after the 95%, is about brand building, being known before you're needed, big, giant reach, positive, humorous advertising to create positive emotions. And this is a long-term strategy. Now, when Maru Matchbox examined Steve's Pest Control up and down the purchase funnel, they found dominance every step of the way. The top two slices are the creating future demand slices. That's brand awareness and positive feelings. The bottom two slices are the converting existing demand stage, the consideration, do you come to mind in buying situations, and have you created purchase intent? So now let's take a look at the marketplace, the pest control marketplace. We have all of the four major brands down the left. Across the top, we have all of the brand equity measures, awareness, brand favorability, purchase intent. Have they ever used any of these brands, and what is the brand preference? And as you can see, up and down the purchase funnel, Steve's Pest Control is the absolute dominant player. You take a look at their purchase intent. Their purchase intent is bigger than the next three brands. Their customer base is actually as big as brand number 2, 3, 4 combined. So they have built, with their radio advertising as the centerpiece of their marketing strategy, they have built a spectacular, significant business in that marketplace. And radio has worked for them. If you look at aided awareness among radio listeners, it's 18% bigger than the aided awareness in the market overall. And when folks are asked to say, hey, you remember Steve's ads for Steve's Pest Control, where do you remember having heard the ads? Number one, AM, FM radio. They don't do a lot of TV, and there's a chunk of people that kind of mistaken the radio ads for TV ads, but suffice to say, radio has knocked it out of the park for Steve's. System One, a global leader in measuring creative effectiveness, surveyed 150 consumers in Colombia and evaluated recent radio ads for Steve's against their three key measures: star rating, spike rating, and the brand recognition score. So the star rating measures how well an ad does at creating positive emotion. And if you get a 1 star, that's a really bad ad. You are not creating any positive emotion. And unfortunately, in the US, when you looked at the System 1 audio norms, about 63% of audio ads in America get that pretty bad 1 star rating. Those are like the sales event ads, lots of features and benefits, no positive emotion there. About a third get a 2, and only 2% of US audio ads get a 3-star or higher. The spike rating is about short-term sales effect. About half the ads get in the low category, and then the rest are kind of chunked across modest, good, and strong. Brand recognition is the proportion of consumers that are able to name the brand after they heard the ad. And you might say to yourself, well, how hard is that? You play an ad for someone and you ask them to name the brand, but believe it or not, less than 73% of the people are able to name the brand just after having heard the ad. So it is critical that you need to get at least 83% of the people, when you expose an ad to them, they can actually remember that it was you. So those are the three measures. How did Steve's ad perform? They had a very humorous ad called The Grinch. And System 1 reports that their ad was one of the best testing audio ads in all of America. The audio average for the US is a 1.7 star rating, and Steve's ad got a 2.8, which is almost a 3, which puts it in the top 2% of audio ads in America. They outperform the spike rating average, and their brand association or brand recognition score was comfortably in that 83% or better. So their creative is spectacular. Why is creative so important? Well, a lot of measurement firms will tell you that 50 to 60% of sales effect is due to the quality of your creative. Is your creative causing positive emotions? Allison O'Toole is VP of Partnerships, Insights and Strategy US for System 1. And her analysis is that Steve's Pest Control category ownership, which is built on long-term radio advertising, shows that audio can work hard and deliver lasting impact for any brand. Steve's Pest Control performance, she says, for above average star rating, spike rating, and brand recognition confirm the quality of their audio creative. And Allison says that System 1 finds that audio ads are equally effective as TV ads in creating long-lasting effects for brands by building fame, trust, and encouraging action by customers. Now, two gentlemen in the whole world are called the godfathers of marketing effectiveness, and their name is Les Binet and Peter Field, and they have published some of the best read, best known books and studies on how advertising works. In fact, their most famous book, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary, is called The Long and the Short of It, which is all about the need to do both, converting existing demand and creating future demand. And Les Binet has created this wonderful one-page summary of how advertising works. Now, I don't think Les Binet, based in London, has ever met Steve's from Steve's Pest Control, but I can tell you that Steve's Pest Control follows the Les Binet checklist of how advertising works to a T. Les Binet says that advertising increases and maintains sales and margins by increasing the chance that people will choose your brand. And you do that by being easy to mind and easy to find. You make your brand easy to think of and easy to buy with ads that create positive feelings and associations, broad reach ads that people find interesting and enjoyable, and targeted sales event activation ads that people find relevant and useful. So Steve's Pest Control is absolutely a living testament of Les Binet's how advertising works. And it's also a lesson for Madison Avenue, who these days has been incredibly narrowly focused on maniacally measuring short-term performance. Because what Steve teaches Madison Avenue is that to be successful, it's not about short-term sales performance. It's about being known before you're needed. So Steve's offers all of us a master class on how you create future demand and build a brand that is incredibly successful on all measures of business outcomes. Using AM/FM radio as its centerpiece, Steve has dominated his marketplace, owns every single measure of brand equity, beating significantly all the major national brands. And compared to a lot of other categories in the market where most people literally cannot name any brand whatsoever, Steve really owns association as the best known brand in his category. And on the two key strategies of creating future demand and converting existing demand, Steve is a master at creating future demand. And this is a wonderful case study of how radio used as the dominant base buy can create and build a significant brand and a dominant business in a marketplace. And we saw that among the radio listeners, Steve's Pest Control had awareness that was 18% greater than the market overall. Steve's creative is spectacular as measured by System 1. He had nearly a 3-star, and this placed him as one of the best testing audio ads in all of America. The Audio Active Group here at Cumulus Media and Westwood One is a full-service brand advisory for national marketers. We offer audio insights. In addition, we are a master of measurement when it comes to helping marketers measure the sales effect, brand effect, search and site attribution of their campaigns, as well as conducting creative testing. Each and every week, we publish a new audio case study. You can find it on our blog at cumulusmedia.com or westwood1.com. And when you're there, you can sign up to get the weekly audio case study sent directly to your email box. Thanks so much for the opportunity to take you through the amazing radio case study of Steve's Pest Control of Columbia, Missouri. Thanks so much.